Your Excellency President Kagame, Speaker of the House, First Lady, Prime Minister, ministers, diplomats, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I feel honored by an invitation to address the 12th Umushirikano. Rwanda's national dialogue is a unique form of participatory democracy that keeps the momentum on the country's fascinating 2 decades development journey. Inclusiveness, togetherness, unity, the topic of this year's national dialogue, resonates well with transformation. Countries that show resilience in transforming their economies and their societies cannot wait for favorable winds. Often, they generate their own winds to sail through, sometimes stormy weather, in order to change the course of their economic and social history. Ladies and gentlemen, Finland sees the opportunity in the global electronics industry and the process of European integration to accomplish a significant structural change of its economy. Finland remained relatively poor and agrarian until post-World War II. At the beginning of the 19th century, the semi-autonomous Grand Duchy of Finland, a dependency of the Russian Empire, observed the benefits of industrialization in Britain. Finland was not equipped with the financial, infrastructural, or entrepreneurial resources to follow the British example. Through a concerted political process, internally and with the rulers in St. Petersburg, a bit distracted by what was going on, Finland entered into a transformation from an agrarian to an industrial society despite all odds. Finland began its irreversible transformation process largely due to processed forest products, exporting them, improving its technological knowledge and labor productivity. It created its own winds. Building on this strength, it ramped up its ambitions, playing catch-up with most advanced nations of the time. Pulp and paper became Finland's rite of passage into global value chains. The Finnish example is worth taking note because nowhere else has the forest sector similarly been the economic engine of a country. Several large forest-based corporations created the basis for even more development, enabling, through the highest-ranking education country right now, Finland, bright young people to acquire education and skills to support the transition from wood to electromechanical products like producing Walkmans and VCRs, and later to digital products like computers, mobile telephones, etc. With its industrial base showing limitations in the 80s, Finland nevertheless decided to become an information society. Nokia is the most emblematic brand in the country, but also a city in Finland. Finnish people remember the times when they were wearing the same black Nokia rubber boots that signify Finnishness in relation to competing brands of lesser quality. The boots got their name from where they were produced, and when the Boots company merged with the wood processing giants, they turned that success into an expanding conglomerate that eventually was the nurse of the electronics giant we know. These days, Nokia is in trouble, but its past success is still behind Finland's remarkable achievements. As inspiring for Rwanda as a country like Finland may be, with less population and a GDP per capita 100 times the one of Rwanda, being a latecomer does not allow to completely follow the same route. But being a latecomer has advantages too. Rwanda's creativity can be its ability to create hives of collaboration and innovation between public, private, and research and development institutions. In other words, dynamic clusters around its natural resources-based economy. This is a lesson Rwanda can learn from. Your new national science, technology, and innovation policy and the establishment of the Rwanda Innovation Endowment Fund are necessary steps creating an environment in which government policies and institutions, as well as corporate strategies, mutually shape each other to support the country's economic and institutional transformation. Dear participants, let me turn to the speech delivered by the famous leader of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, in the historical day of the country's independence, 9 August 1965, and I quote, "Every time we look back at this moment, when we signed this agreement, which severed Singapore from Malaysia, it will be a moment of anguish. For me, it is a moment of anguish because all my life," and he pauses, "you see, all of my adult life," and he pauses again, "I have believed in merger and the unity of these two territories. You know that we, as a people, are connected by geography, economics, by ties of kinship." End of quote. Lee Kuan Yew was apologizing for not succeeding in keeping Singapore in Malaysia, in tears, but also with rage. He knew that a new country without natural resources, no real economic activity, apart from a port used for opium trade, and a mammoth hostile neighbors would be very difficult to govern. I will not dwell on the Singaporean example. I would only like to highlight the role of leadership in creating a wonder out of a teardrop. The force that mobilized the nation from rejection solidified the determination of the nation to change the course of its history and its people. Without making the historical mistake to compare 1965 to 1994, I still believe that there are similarities between Singapore and Rwanda. Just like here, good governance was a foundation to Singapore's economic transformation. Lee Kuan Yew led Singaporeans into rough waters, thus embarking on a route less traveled to deliver economic and social transformation. The government had to transform Singapore from a re-export economy under the colonial regime to an export economy. Unlike Hong Kong and Taiwan, there was no exodus of entrepreneurs from China. There were no domestic savings, and regional markets were likely to impose trade barriers to help their own industries. Singapore addressed these challenges by building its manufacturing base through foreign direct investment. In addition, they also tap into domestic savings. Domestic savings were mobilized through the compulsory Central Provident Fund, very much like the Agachiro is trying to do. Who could have imagined that Singapore would become the largest Asia port, have the most profitable airline in the world, and beat Switzerland as the most attractive financial market? Can Rwanda emulate this remarkable example? Can Rwanda emulate this remarkable example? In many aspects, the discipline and determination that made Singapore are legendary as they are recognized here. Singapore had its own governance models and standards and never allowed anyone to teach them lessons about what would work. They were severely criticized, paid the price for the very beginning, but at the end, they had the last laugh. Dear participants, just like Uruguay in South America, nestled between two giants, Argentina and Brazil, Rwanda has huge neighbors demographically and geographically. When Uruguay suffered the spillover effects from Argentina economic troubles between 1999 and 2002, its economy plunged by 11%, and unemployment climbed to 21%. In response to the magnitude of the challenges, the government of the Broad Front, in power since 2004, adopted a blend of investor-friendly policies coupled with redistributive social policies. The economy subsequently grew at an impressive annual rate, close to 7%, during the 2004 and 2008 period. Uruguay's export markets have been diversified, and in 2005, the country became the largest exporter of software in South America. Initiatives to change the social fabric are being implemented. For instance, the government instigated a $240 million national plan to address the social emergencies, providing $75 monthly conditional cash transfer to over 100,000 households in extreme poverty. The combination of progressive social policy and the adoption of an investment-friendly macroeconomic framework contributed to growth currently continuing above 5%, a considerably more robust rate than Argentina or Brazil can dream of. Part of the success was attributable to Uruguay offering what the giants could not: predictability, easiness, and reliability of a first-class public service. The country turned its peaceful and security environment into an attractive call for investors, looking not to its market, but to its neighbors. Your Excellency, dear participants, much of the success achieved so far in Rwanda hinges on the belief on the power of its ideas, self-reliance, resilience, as well as on the forging of homegrown and innovative solutions that are now globally known. The achievements now are the base for looking into a high gear as the challenges to reach 11.5% growth target are not to be discounted. Though the winds may not be favorable, the national dialogue process offers a unique opportunity to fully explore possibilities for a dynamic Rwanda. The magnitude of the shifts into higher growth, such as industry and services, needs to be accelerated. Policies such as those implemented in Finland could see Rwandan minerals follow a transformation path as the forestry sector did in Finland. Finland exemplifies the learning organizational model in which institutional environments mold the functioning of the economy, the manner in which economic agents go about running their business, and the nature of their interaction. Singapore shows adversity is the beginning of a journey, not its end. And Uruguay shows that small can indeed be beautiful in many unsuspected ways. A national dialogue contributes to the development of institutional arrangements and social compacts between the governor or the government and the governed. To be successful and endure the test of time, these changes must be rooted in Rwanda's cultural, political, and economic history. In this respect, It is for Rwandans to define the economic transformation that will make it an industrialized nation. This has already been very well articulated in Vision 2020 and its supporting EDPR planning and strategic framework. In defining this transformation, Rwanda, like Finland, Singapore, or Uruguay, ought to identify which key choices could shape a prosperous future for all. In the pursuit of structural transformation, I am pleased to see that Rwanda learns from Africa and beyond. This is exemplified in Rwanda's strategy to develop its aviation sector. In Ethiopia, unlike popular knowledge, coffee is not the leading foreign exchange contributor. Air transportation is. The support that the government is providing to Rwandair is laudable. To be sure, it is a high-risk venture in a non-competitive closed market. But it is strategic in every sense of the word. Without good air transport, a lot of the support provided for higher value-added activities in services and even in manufacturing may not be viable. Dear participants, the scale of the trade imbalance in Rwanda is still large. To inverse the trend, Rwanda needs to master smart protectionism. The North Corridor is a good bet, as is the country's strong regional integration agenda. But beyond the regional market, Rwanda ought to look at emerging markets by investing in knowledge generation of value chains that it seeks to enter. Being a developmental state is to be strategic. This means that the government has transparent and adequate control over the geographical territory and demonstrates strategic visionary capacities. This also implies regular consultations with the people who need their voices to be heard in policy making and budgetary resources allocation. Regular national dialogue, as the one organized here today, is critical for maintaining an harmonious relationship and understanding between the government and its population. Strategic leadership, strategic management, and enterprise performance are pillars of the Rwandan culture. In addition, the application of principles of good governance rooted in Abunzi, Umuganda, give a unique Rwandan touch to the relationship between governor and governed. The governed, in their contribution to Rwanda, have to use their judgment to make the process rest on a creative exchange for improvement, diligence, motivation, commitment from leaders will create and maintain environments that boost these same qualities. Leaders have a responsibility to increase their level of competency in order to contribute to the learning environment that made other nations succeed and prosper, like the ones I just mentioned. In this respect, national dialogues as an accountability framework represent an honest assessment of the principles that guide the relationship between government and its people. Finally, courage and faith are required as the expected results may not materialize in expected time. It can take generations to achieve structural transformation. To withstand the test of time and to stay the course, it requires a solid social compact. Experiences from Finland, Singapore, and Uruguay show success is as an individual as a collective responsibility. When I look into the relationship between the government and the people of a country, I see many similarities in the relationship we share with our loved ones in our families. Healthy personal relationships are built essentially on mutual respect, trust, openness, compromise, and willingness to listen to what others have to say. Every country has to discover its path to development by identifying the most valuable asset in each moment of its transformation. Predictability can be more valuable at a point, inclusivity on another, safety yet on another, and so on. Many ingredients make a successful development experiment, but it is not a zero-sum game. It is complex. It is unique. Rwanda has been demonstrating it knows its way. Thank you.